It's a rainy day here in Abuja, but well, if it's a cup of coffee that will make you feel warm, because the conversation tonight, some may be uncomfortable, some will be very direct and straight to the heart, but yeah, it's something that we all need to have. Ladies and gentlemen, get your seat and let's get talking. Wherever you may be watching, on your mobile device, on your television, wherever you may be, these are some national issues that needs our conversation tonight. Let's get started, everyone. First and foremost, let's begin with what is happened today. The Nigerian Labour Congress and its sister agency, TUC, have for a second time rejected the federal government offer in the ongoing national minimum wage negotiation. It was at first 48,000, and angrily, the organized labor walked out of the negotiation saying the federal government does not have the requisite data to be able to decide on what should be applicable national living wage for the Nigerian worker. And what they brought was to the table was something that got them upset. Now, for this sitting again today, and a few minutes ago, they ended that negotiation. 54,000. That was what the federal government is bringing to the table, compared to 615,000 that Labour was proposing. Yet again, Labour has rejected it. Let's get talking, everyone. I'm being joined by Mr. Joe Ajero, who is the president of the Nigerian Labour Congress. He joins us virtually here in Abuja. Thank you so much, Comrade Ajero, for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Sean.
The last time you inferred that what the federal government brought to the table was noisome. It was something that angered the Nigerian labor. This time around, are you still very angry?
Well, you can see that it's still not substantial compared to what you need to keep a family moving. There are various ways of expressing displeasure on issues. The last time, we told them there was no case submission. And in this matter again, we told them that there's nothing on the table, when they moved to 54. And the state governors were missing in action. So we may be convening tomorrow in the afternoon, giving the governors benefit of doubt to come along so that they won't claim that their hairs were shaved in their absence. So that's why we're continuing negotiation tomorrow.
It's supposed to be a tripartite negotiation forum. Is it that the governors were not, or the representatives of the governors were not properly informed, or why would they miss such an important meeting?
Well, it may be the seriousness they attached to it. Some of them had some representatives at that meeting, but without mandate to commit the governors. It is one thing to be represented, and another thing to give your representatives mandate to represent you. And that is where we are today, to make sure that they are present, or they will be present tomorrow, for us to proceed from where we stop today.
So invariably, the offer of 54,000 naira is coming from the federal government.
Perfect. But you see, in the spirit of tripartism, government is government. And government in this context, especially in a sector that is in the exclusive list, is represented by the federal government, and in particular, the Minister of Labour, who should be the vice chairman of the negotiating committee. So with them there, but we understand, we realize that within them, they may equally have governors and other parties. So the organized private sector were there, organized labor present, federal government present, even governors representative present. But we want to do a holistic job that is all-inclusive.
So in this particular meeting of today, was the Minister of Labour present?
Yeah, she was present.
Okay, so what was her explanation? Because she's supposed to be the vice chairman of that negotiation committee, and she's supposed to be representing the federal government. We're talking about the national minimum wage, and ideally, it is, well, she's supposed to be in the middle in any ways to be able to conciliate between labor, the government, and the workers. But then, in all of this, there should be an explanation on how the federal government arrived at 54,000 naira. What explanation did she give?
Well, those are part of the issue because we didn't go even deep into the kernels of the discussion. Labour has been insisting that we should provide that explanation. Well, she was the person that made the offer on behalf of the federal government, citing that government had been involved in so many projects, including provision of fertilizer and other issues. But you see, we didn't get talking because that offer is neither here or there. So they are not giving any justification on what they expect us to do, because we itemized all that we needed. Then we expected them to go into it so that we'll harmonize on something. But they are yet to commence discussion apart from this paltry offer.
So what would you say, because the last time you said the federal government was not serious. You said they do not have the kind of data to be able to sit in that kind of negotiation. Do they look serious today? And does the federal government look like they have what it takes to come to the table? Because when we hear that the federal government is not serious in this kind of negotiation that involves the livelihood and the progress of an average worker, one we're wondering what exactly is the intention of government to its own people?
Well, saying somebody is not serious on an issue is not an insult. It's just the approach to it. When you don't give serious approach to an issue, the other party may gladly say you are not serious, because it was just like a 2-paragraph whatever. The government is offering 48,000. And we asked, is that all? Because Labour was the first to present, and we itemized it. We are looking at this amount to be for accommodation, this amount to be feeding. We broke it down to even what a plate of food could be, this amount, contrary to even the report of the Bureau of Statistics, where they were talking even 900. We broke it on to even 500, assuming you are going to eat a plate of rice without meat. So all those, but they didn't just say anything, they said 48,000. And we have not seen a negotiation that goes that way. So that's the point of being serious. Probably they will tidy up, come up and give justification to any figure they are mentioning. Because when you give a figure, you do justification to that figure and say, this is why we are doing this. And that is what Labour is still expecting from them. And I know that employers of Labour in the private sector may equally be expecting that.
So there are those who will say, yes, we've heard what some state governments are saying, and some of them are proactive, like Edo State. You were there when the governor of Edo State, Godwin Obaseki, made an announcement of a 70,000 naira increase or in the minimum wage, and which he said that it will commence immediately. And the Lagos governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, has also mentioned the idea of a possible increase to about that same figures, about 70,000 naira. There are some governors who are forward-thinking, who are already making arrangements. And those who look at those figures, 70,000 to 615,000 naira that Labour is bringing to the table, some economists will tell you that 615,000 naira will nearly crash the economy, may cause some kind of inflation, and will have an impact on the economy. And those who say sustainability is going to be a problem. Is Labour worried about all of these dynamics?
Well, when you suppress wage a very long time, those are the kind of things you see. If you look at a country like like Ghana, wage is reviewed annually. And if you do that, you take care of so many other factors, including inflation. Now, by the time you have a suppressed wage for 5 years, and you expect us to be talking 31,000, 32,000, 33,000, it doesn't happen that way. And those are the areas we are looking at, the frequency of review of wages, so that we know where we are going to. It is not enough for you to call it 615. 615 as a country that, exports crude in dollar, amounts to $20, $22. Which country is paying it? Because that is where we brought ourselves. That's where we brought our currency to a very ridiculous level. And then we all need to work on it. And that's why Labour is talking of other variables. We have to look at all those other variables in agreeing on what we are going into. It's not a question of, taking 600 and something now. In the next 1 month, 600 and something will not be enough again for you to even buy a bag of rice. That's not what we're talking of. We have to have a holistic approach, holistic view to this, and introduce an element of COLA, cost of living allowance, that will be able to take, care of some levels of inflation as they come. So if we have that, and then reduce the number of the years of review of a minimum wage, then we can achieve something substantial. Or not to leave wage to be suppressed for 5 solid years, and you are saying that 600 and something is much. It's not much.
But the question that some people will have is sustainability. But now, if you look at the figures that the federal government is bringing to the table with your experience in negotiation and having this kind of conversation, it looks a far cry from what you are proposing, 615,000 naira. What is the worst case scenario, Mr. Ajero?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't know what constitutes the worst case scenario from the part of government. Labour has said we can come down in certain variables like inflation, period of review, the issue of foreign currency and the value of the naira is shaped. The issue of constant tariff increases, the issue of working on maybe CNG and the issue of subsidy on PMS and other issues. We have to take these things together. If we look at them, we can now determine where we are coming down to. But if these things remain open, it then means even if we get 615, to be so vulnerable that it will be useless. So we have to look at all these issues. It's not just banding figures, take 40, take 48, take 54. What are those things that will make this 54, assuming we are paying it, to be valuable, to be meaningful? And like I said before, 54,000 of any currency is a big money, but not when everything is running, with such a speed.
So I'd like to ask you, in all of this, there are those who will say, is Labour holding the government accountable? Because if the government is saying, tighten your belt, everyone, we do not have that kind of money. Well, NNPC is already saying that we're growing our capacity to refine or to explore more amount of oil, and we're going higher in terms of the quantity per day of the barrels of oil, which is better than before. That means that more money, and we're seeing more money also since the removal of oil subsidy that goes into the state every month. So one thing is fundamental. Well, tighten your belt. But those who are saying government is not responsible enough to show example that belt should be tightened, asking citizens to tighten their belt, but it has not shown in the lives and the manner in which the government is running its own affairs. Are you able to hold government accountable on the issue of the cost of governance? Because where we find ourselves today, there are those who will say it is the irresponsibility of those who have governed this country for the past years, bad leadership, and in a way that they have irrationally mortgaged the future of this country in terms of the way they have handled the resources of this country. Are you able to hold the government accountable in the area of court of governance?
Well, this issue has been recurring, even after the constitution of the current national executive of the President Tinubu's government. We met with him and we complained. And I'm talking of meeting with him, not just letters. And, we said this issue of how many ministers, how many SAs to SAs. And I think maybe he jokingly retorted, well, that I'm creating more jobs, getting more jobs. And we say, no, this one has its own implication to the economy. We raised it. The issue of even refining locally, which is on the front burner. The issue of almost all activity, the wastage, even when they started buying vehicles at almost 160-something million, for legislators. We raised the alarm, on and on and on. Who have been doing that? But like when the issue of subsidy was removed, they said go and negotiate wages. And that's the point where we are now, the point of negotiating wages. And then all manner of analysis are coming up. How wage negotiated will rate inflation, how it will destroy economy. An economy that's, almost destroyed. The economy of the worker is totally destroyed. In fact, the worker doesn't have any economy. So I think there are two economies in the country, the economy of the bourgeois and the economy of the workers. So we have to harmonize this so that we can have a meeting point.
So, and that leads me to that meeting point that you will be talking about. And it takes me to asking about your thinking about AZOPA, meaning that your zone of possible agreement. What is your zone of possible agreement?
Yeah, you have asked this question in various forms, as, what is maybe our irreducible minimum from what you are asking. But I have equally responded to you, that is not a question of saying 500, 400, that it has to take other variables, for us to arrive at something. We can't continue to bandy figures, 400, 500. We can say, okay, if we are paying 400, this must be checked, this must be checked. The value of the currency must be at this, the inflation must be at this digit. And then we can now agree on what fits us. And then you have to equally take into consideration, food inflation, take into consideration all other variables. And then we achieve at a point. It's not something that is just pronounced that way. Wage is not supposed to be arrived at that for the fun of, playing with figures. There are other things that must be taken into consideration for you to arrive at a figure. And when you do that, it makes sense. It makes it sustainable. The fact that you call it 800 or 700 does not make it sustainable. The fact that even you call it 30,000 does not make it sustainable. There has to be other contributions in the economy, that will make it sustainable, that will make it valuable to the worker, that will make it, lasting.
Let me ask you quickly. In 9 to 10 days, your ultimatum to the federal government will elapse. You have threatened that you will go to the street and protest, and you will take action if the federal government fails in its bid to meet your demands, and you listed all the demands, which include reversal of electricity tariff, which also includes the issues of the minimum wage. With the timeline that you have, do you see the federal government being able to meet up in all of these demands?
Well, the minimum wage, old minimum wage, expired by 18th of April. And for 5 years, ordinarily, the federal government was supposed to start a process of reviewing wages 6 months before this time. It didn't happen. And we have had experience in the past where after negotiation, we're talking of arrears. The issue of commencement date of new wage continue to be distorted. And when people are giving ultimatum that this thing must be concluded within this period, it was based on the fact that today in Nigeria, there's no minimum wage, by law. And then we should have concluded this for a new minimum wage to come into force. And you realize also that after this agreement and the drafting of the new minimum wage act, it has to go to National Assembly for legislation. And these are roots, and I bet you, if not for the way we start to pursue this, people may not even tell you that we need to review the minimum wage till the end of this year. So we meant every word we used, because we knew that Nigeria had no business, staying till the end of the old minimum wage, which lasted for 5 years, without showing any seriousness and commitment to it. And Nigerian workers, will speak at the appropriate time on this issue, whether this is the best way to go.
Mr. Ajaero, before I allow you, because I know you look very tired, I literally pleaded with you to get this interview done because Nigerian people need to know what really transpired today. I know you look very tired, but before I allow you to go, Mr. Ajaero, let me get your reaction. The Tinubu government will be 1 year in another few days, and there's been a lot of assessment. One of the assessments today is that you cannot blame the Bola Tinubu government for the economic challenges or the economic woes of Nigeria. It's coming from a former governor, Issa Yuguda. And at that forum, they said you cannot blame, and the indices are there to show that the Tinubu government cannot be blamed, and they're doing their best, and we're on the right path. That is according to their own analysis and assessment. In your view, as a leader of Labour, do you agree?
Well, I think the problem of this country, you can't pick it within 1 year. It started and has been declining up to today. Nobody will do an honest assessment by saying that it is this government. No, that would be wrong. It is growing cumulatively. But the essence of having another government in place is to correct the ills of the past. And I think that's on the premise at which people are saying that the Tinubu government, are the people sitting down there now. So they are the people we are seeing. They are the people we know. But let me say this. The rate at which inflation, the rate at which the value of the naira, the rate at which the PMS which we are buying, skyrocketed within this 1 year, this causes alarm. And I think that is what people are saying. So we need to, stabilize this for people to move on and to renew confidence. I need to stop here because that's where it affects labor. If we are buying a liter of PMS at 180 or 185, and within 1 year, we are buying it at 700 or thereabout. Now, and then with the same wage being constant, no worker will clap for you for this.
Mr. Joe Ajaero is the president of the Nigerian Labour Congress. Thank you so much for the update and insight you're giving us on the negotiation. I plead with you that as this goes on, please make it a day with us as soon as you have more information in your negotiation so that the Nigerian people and the Nigerian workers can be carried along. Thank you so much indeed. I appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you, Sharon. Bless you.
Well,